We are delighted that you are joining us in the Vital Conversations movement, dealing with issues related to faith, culture, and fighting oppression in the church and world today. I am pleased to introduce Reverend Stefan von Twardowski, a pastor in the North Germany Annual Conference and a leader of youth ministries, who will be talking about the deliberate steps that the church must take to foster peace, justice, and reconciliation in the 21st century. He was a Methodist delegate and workshop facilitator at the International Ecumenical Peace Convocation for the World Council of Churches, and has a deep interest in the topics of peace and justice, particularly as it relates to refugees and fighting modern-day slavery. He has led dialogues on theology, ethics, and action, and has contributed to the Peace Declaration of the United Methodist Church in Germany and the Social Principles. We invite you to stay connected with GCOR by following us on Facebook and Twitter, and by visiting our website to learn more about our work and to find resources to assist you in having your own vital conversations. And now, it is my very distinct pleasure to present to you Reverend Stefan von Twardowski.
Hello, I'm Pastor Stefan von Twardowski. For quite some time, many members of the United Methodist Church in Germany have been wearing this wristband with the inscription "Welcome" on it. With this sign and action message, we have become part of a national campaign. Churches, different denominations, religious and civil agencies and organizations like the Diakonia Germany and the German Red Cross have been extremely involved in the biggest refugee crisis since the end of the Second World War. By wearing this wristband and in our active involvement, we as the United Methodist Church are sending out a message along with our various partners here in Germany. We say yes to an open and humane Germany. We stand with the people who have been forced to flee their countries in search of justice and peace. We say welcome and search for meaningful exchange with refugees. It is hard to believe that today there are almost 60 million people fleeing from their home countries. According to the United Nations Refugee Agency, 51% are under 18, children. People leave and flee from their home, their familiar surroundings, their country. Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Eritrea, Nigeria, Pakistan, and many other countries. War, ethnic clashes and rivalry, conflict, terror, violence, environmental disasters, famine, searching for a just life and a better future leaves them no other choice. Whilst fleeing, they take on extremely dangerous risks, trusting human traffickers, traveling on overcrowded boats across the Mediterranean Sea on their way to Europe. The main object is to get out, to leave. And this is not without tragedy. Since September 2015, approximately 2 children die every day whilst escaping on the Mediterranean Sea. People risk their lives and that of their families because they know if they stay at home, a premature death is certain. In 2015, almost 1.1 million people fled to Germany. Early figures in 2016 point in the same direction. It is indeed a big challenge, not only on the political front, but for society, for each and every one of us. Germany, together with the European Union, is under tremendous amount of pressure. What is the right path to take? How open can our borders be? How can Europe be a place of refuge for many people? The debates in Europe and in Germany are intensifying. And unfortunately, in Germany, those voices that promote fear and hatred towards the other are becoming louder. They even go as far as warning of an Islamization of Europe. People are demonstrating on the streets and are chanting xenophobic slogans. We see more and more living quarters for refugees being set on fire, while some citizens watch and even applaud. But it was also surprising to see the great number of people in Germany who got involved in assisting and helping the refugees. Many volunteers from all walks of life and all age groups organized help in the different neighborhoods and established volunteer networks. Every congregation of the United Methodist Church, despite its theological and spiritual imprint, is challenged to react to the refugee crisis. People who have fled by boat and across the Mediterranean Sea to Europe and to Germany have now been housed in the sports halls of local schools, in new buildings for asylum seekers, or they received an apartment from the States. They now live next door to us. Children are traumatized, and families that have been ripped apart while fleeing have now been thrown into a new and unfamiliar environment and do not know what tomorrow will bring. In the midst of all this confusion, a lot of church communities have indeed responded. In the small town of Ederwecht, for example, the pastor of the Methodist Church invited all those interested to a round table meeting to organize assistance for refugees coming to the town. Many people come to these regular meetings, even the mayor of the town. As a result, daily German language courses were offered in the church building, with some of the church members serving as teachers. The church community of Berlin-Wittenau organized an exchange cafe. 40 to 50 guests from different countries participate on a regular basis, enjoying tea, coffee, and cake, while participating in many games and creative activities. There is a community garden with space for the kids to play. Many ecumenical brothers and sisters are also very involved in this project. In the community of Bremerhaven, clothing was collected and handed out to those refugees in need. In the church community of Lübeck, there are monthly events with games, music, and lively conversations. There are even joint cooking sessions. Avid chess players from different countries meet regularly in the community in Halle to play together. The main mission of these groups is to get to know each other and to support one another. In many communities, there are worship services in different languages, and the sermons are translated. Quite a few of the elderly community members in our churches know what it is like to flee, as they themselves were refugees at the end of the Second World War. They are able to connect with those coming into Germany, share similar stories, and reassure the new residents. Also, in the community of Claustadt-Zellerfeld, where I serve as a pastor, we are trying to implement and practice a welcoming culture. We started a network called Network Help. We offer refugees so-called tandem partners. This is a regular partner for a family or an individual to assist in getting accustomed to live in Germany and all the steps needed to manage one's life in a new country. Some of the refugees also actively participate in the network by assisting with translation and supporting other families. Recently, a conversation cafe of our Network Help was held at our church. Some visitors played games, and at one table, we all looked at a map of the world. Some of the refugees showed which country they came from and tried to point out the route they took. Next to me sat a young man from Iraq with his wife and his father. The two children of the couple were playing with the other children. The young man told us in English and partly in German of his experience in Iraq, about how he was shot in the back by militia and how he had to travel to Iran for an operation. He told about how it wasn't safe for him and his family to stay in Baghdad and in Iraq, and how he and his family fled on foot and then by boat crossing the Mediterranean Sea. They were on the road for 6 weeks with their small children. On the world map, the distance does not seem so far, but the family had a very long journey. There was sadness and laughter in the conversation. The young man also asked me about my life and biography. A small encounter at a table in a church community, evolved into us developing new perspective. Just from sharing our own stories and experiences, we were able to meet each other on a mutual level, face to face. There was something powerful about the grace and love of God that was displayed at that small table. With these experiences, we start to change. Refugees find a home in our churches, especially when they feel that they belong and can be an active part of the community. This happens when they experience open hearts, open minds, and open doors. When word traveled about the positive and good discussions and encounters at the Conversation Cafe, many of our church members showed an interest and promise to get involved. It re-energizes me to see the church changing in the midst of this time of political tension, pressure, and the increase in xenophobic discussions and actions. It gives me hope to see community members start to open themselves up and experience the grace of God in a new way. I hope and dream that we as churches will learn to encounter each other with respect, interest, and creativity. I dream of a church community that will allow itself to be changed in the midst of pressure, have a contagious effect on the political and civil front, and embrace the power of change. The 10th Assembly of the World Council of Churches in 2013 established an ecumenical pilgrimage of justice and peace. The worldwide ecumenical community confesses, we are a fellowship on the move, a community of pilgrims. We journey together towards life in all its fullness. We pray for God's guidance and inspiration so that our pilgrimage will open us to one another through dynamic and creative interactions for justice. God of life, lead us to be living instruments of your justice and peace. I do believe that justice and peace are not just ethical options, but rather fundamental and indispensable expressions of our faith and our Methodist identity. On this pilgrimage, we can learn to be a church of peace. The wristband is a sign for people we meet, and at the same time, a sign for ourselves. God says welcome to us all.